ABC News is reporting on Biden's, honestly, biggest flop to date. It's right on par with the $2,000 checks and backing off of that. Might even surpass it. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. That's, it's a subjective thing where you determine which is worse. But take a look. Biden to challenge Trump's foreign policy of America first. Amid a surge in high-profile assassinations and violent attacks, the Biden administration is indicating it will keep U.S. troops in Afghanistan past a May withdrawal deadline laid out in the U.S. deal with the Taliban. President Joe Biden has talked about keeping U.S. forces for counterterrorism or to defend the U.S.-backed Afghan government against a rise in Taliban attacks, but it's unclear what conditions, to what end, and for how long after America's nearly 20 years of war. U.S. troops are at their lowest level in Afghanistan now, which the Pentagon said in a new report Monday has imposed limitations on completing its mission. They do not go on to explain what that mission is. And that's probably the most crucial point. Oh, this is preventing us from completing our mission. What's your mission? I don't know what our mission is. So they're saying, no, we're not going to pull out. No, we're not going to abide by the timeline that's been laid out before us in some sort of negotiated deal. And I'm not going to tell you when we are going to pull out. So give me more time, give me more money, give me more soldiers, and I'm not going to give you a plan or a goal or an exit date. Are you insane? Why would anybody agree to that? Why would any sane, rational human being agree to that? You would only agree to that if your default setting is war is the answer. I don't know what the question is, but war is the answer. We have a right to police the world because I say so. We're the world's policemen. We're the world's sole superpower. We're the imperialist force. So we get to do whatever we want. International law does not apply to us. And beyond that, we're not even going to give you a theoretical reason why we should stay and what we're doing there. Who's insane enough to sign on to this? I don't have the polls in front of me, but I know that the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan are historically unpopular. I mean, it was the war in Afghanistan a long time ago surpassed the unpopularity of the Vietnam War at the height of its unpopularity. Think about that. Depending on how you ask the question, you could get numbers that are in like the teens, 19%, 13%, whatever it is, of like, that's the number of people who support the war there. It's nothing but a colossal waste of resources, waste of our soldiers' lives, waste of civilian lives there. By the way, the last time, because the media never even talks about this stuff, but the last time what we're doing there was in the news in a prominent way was when we bombed the Kunduz hospital and killed massive numbers of civilians. So we need to stay there to protect the civilians, maybe by killing them. Then there was that, actually I'm wrong, because then there was that story of the Afghanistan papers, where we learned that the whole war has been a giant mess. We learned that there is no strategy, there is no order, there is no purpose, and that dropped in the media, and it was out almost immediately. Like the major networks barely touched it. And I forget who did it, to be fair. It was either New York Times or Washington Post. It was one of those papers that did really, really great reporting. And it was just like a blip in the radar. And by the next day, we were talking about some dumb Trump tweet. By the way, this is the problem with the media, is they never focus on the things that actually matter. So what are we doing there? I mean, that's the question, right? What are we doing there? And I'm not in those rooms. I can't give you concrete, definitive answers. But what I do know is everything they've said every step of the way turned out to not be true. When you look at Iraq, when you look at Afghanistan, both of them. In the case of Iraq, we got to get rid of Saddam Hussein because Saddam Hussein helped Osama bin Laden with 9/11. That wasn't true. Then they moved the goalpost to, he has weapons of mass destruction, and the implication was he's going to attack us with them. That wasn't true either. Then the argument was just, he's a bad guy, he's a dictator. If you don't want to do the war, you love dictators. Nonsense. Obviously, you could disagree with the war on principle, saying, hey, he's not a threat to us, so what are we doing? They said, no, you love dictators if you're against the war. In the case of Afghanistan, we got to go into Afghanistan because 9/11 happened, and we got to get Osama bin Laden. That's where he's hiding. Osama bin Laden's been dead for a really long time. Why are we still there? Well, see, the Taliban was protecting Al-Qaeda. Okay, now according to our own intelligence agencies, there's less than 100 Al-Qaeda members in Afghanistan. Why are we there? Well, it was Al-Qaeda, but the Taliban themselves are bad enough and they're a threat, so we gotta stay. Okay, but who are they a threat to? Are they a threat to us? Not necessarily. Really, they're a threat to their own people. So that's the standard. You know how many places around the world there are groups that are a threat to their own populations? Should we invade all of them? What's the standard here? What's the standard you're operating from? What's the principle? There is none. This is the neocon mindset. This is the imperialist mindset. And then listen, when you scratch beneath the surface, what do you find? You find that there's all these perverse incentives. Don't take my word for it. Go read Smedley Butler and his War's a Racket piece. Like, there's a lot of money to be made in war. That's the military-industrial complex. There are jobs tied to all 50 states for the military-industrial complex, for the defense industry. So our welfare in this country is warfare. We have so many jobs tied to it. Now, you can say that's conspiratorial. Fair enough, but it's also true that even Dwight Eisenhower was like, beware of the military-industrial complex. Because when war's profitable for a certain segment of the population, they're going to want to do more war. I mean, that's just the way it works. In the same way that when you have private prisons, now there's an incentive to put more people in prison. Same thing with our defense industry, the military-industrial complex. They make more money the more war is being done, the more we sell weapons to brutal regimes like Saudi Arabia, for example. That's one thing. The other thing is oil in the case of Iraq, trillions of dollars in mineral wealth in the case of Afghanistan, opium. I mean, again, there needs to be an explanation that makes sense, and everything they've said so far does not make sense. And now you have how many administrations? Every administration, Democrat, Republican, somehow a lot of them talk a good game, and then they always do the same thing. Obama yo-yoed the troop levels. Up, down, up, down, up, down. But ultimately, he kept us there. Trump yo-yoed the troop levels. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Ultimately, he kept us there. The withdrawal, by the way, still keeps at least 2,000 troops there. Biden's now, we got to get even more. Do another surge. And this is at a time when our country's falling apart. You think we don't need those funds? That money here? Are you kidding me? You have to be kidding me. Job losses are 4 times worse than the Great Recession. 40% of the country is food insecure. Nearly 80% was living paycheck to paycheck before COVID, the pandemic, and the depression. Our infrastructure gets a grade of D+. You think we don't need those funds here? Why would we waste those funds overseas? But here we are. Here we are. So Biden is continuing in the footsteps of George W. Bush, Donald Trump, and Barack Obama. Give war a chance. How long? We've been there 20 years. You want to stay there 40 years? Give me a line. Give me a number. Give me a number. Give me a goal. They're not going to do any of that. And people are just going to sit back and take it because the media is so shitty, they don't even talk about it. There's people who probably don't even know we're still in these countries because the media never talks about it. So it's pathetic. It's pathetic. These issues matter. These issues matter. And they're not treated like they do. So this is disgusting. And if we had an adversarial media, they would challenge Biden on this. If we had people in positions of power that listen to the American people, they'd pull us out immediately. But they're not going to do any of those things. So here we are. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss on this issue.